Members of the Council, my name is Scott Enright. I'm Deputy Director of the Hawaii Department of Agriculture, and I have a statement from the Hawaii Department of Agriculture on Bill 113. The Hawaii Department of Agriculture strongly believes Hawaii's farmers deserve the opportunity to benefit from biotechnology to reduce production costs, combat diseases, and help achieve a broader goal of food self-sufficiency, and most importantly, to continue as viable businesses into the future. In the recent past, the benefits to Hawaii's farmers resulting from research and application of biotechnology and/or hybridization technology include the development of disease-resistant crops such as papaya, banana, and anthurium. Today, Big Island Dairy utilizes biotech corn seed that is planted, harvested, and fed to dairy cattle, reducing their cost of feed, making the operation more economically viable. It is the high cost of imported feed that played a major role in the demise of the dairies throughout the state and is threatening our other livestock industries for hogs, poultry, and eggs. Looking to the future, including the impact of global warming on Hawaii's agriculture, if the availability of biotechnology is prohibited, there will be no on-island R&D on drought-resistant crops such as pasture grasses that are vital to Hawaii's important beef cattle ranches and the state's drive to food self-sufficiency. In addition, there will be no on-island R&D in support of the growing biofuel feedstock industry that will directly assist in the energy self-sufficiency goals established by the Hawaii Energy Initiative. As pointed out by Dr. Maria Gallo, the Dean of the University of Hawaii College of Tropical Agriculture and Human Resources, in an op-ed recently published in the Honolulu Star-Advertiser, it would be short-sighted to have a blanket ban on GMOs in Hawaii when we are faced with the enormous challenge of food self-sufficiency.
Thank you.
It is
or can you quickly summarize?
Quickly summarize. It is imperative that the policy decisions such as that facing the County Council be made with a complete grasp of the facts and the potential ramifications. The Hawaii Department of Agriculture recommends that the Hawaii County Council consider undertaking additional discussion and information gathering by a working group that should include farmers and scientists, look at Hawaii County's diversified agricultural needs and the role of biotechnology can have to meet those needs. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Shintaku.
Hi, my name is Michael Shintaku. I grew up on a sugarcane and vegetable farm in Kau here. My grandfather and father were farmers there. I received a PhD in plant pathology from Cornell in 1991, and then I came here shortly after that. I'm faculty at Hilo. I'm not speaking on behalf of the university, though. I'm speaking on just my behalf. I teach in the College of Agriculture. I teach genetics, plant pathology, and microbiology. I strongly oppose this bill. A thing should be banned because of a property, because it's dangerous, not because of the technology that gave rise to it. This technology gave rise to corn with insect resistance, soy with herbicide resistance, papaya with virus resistance. These crops are very different from each other, and the engineered traits are very different from each other. If there was proof that a thing was dangerous, if there was proof that BT corn caused harm, that crop should be recalled and banned, but not all transgenic plants. Right now, this bill is based on a precautionary principle. We don't know for sure a thing is safe, so let's not accept it. So these transgenic crops may be dangerous. We need to be safe, but one thing we know for sure is not safe is food. This past summer, 162 people, 5 in Hawaii, were infected with hepatitis A virus from organic berries. 71 of these people were hospitalized, almost exactly a year ago now. 33 people in 5 states were sickened by E. coli 0157H7 from eating organic spinach. 15 of those people were hospitalized, and 2 had kidney failure, right? We don't ban all organic produce, even when something like this happens. We make them do a recall, clean up, make some changes, maybe go out of business. It would be ridiculous to ban all organic food because of some berries and some spinach. And it's equally ridiculous to ban all GMO crops. And nobody's even shown a connection between these crops and disease. The science is solid. The
you.
science is solid. And the last, I'll just very briefly, like every scientific organization agrees that a transgenic crop is exactly as dangerous as its non-transgenic counterpart.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Back to Kona. I'd like to call your next testifier, please.
Next two testifiers, David Case in support of Bill 113. And then we have Kelly Greenwell in opposition of Bill 113.
Thank you.
Aloha, Chairman Eoff and members of the council. My name is David Case. I am the president of the Kona chapter of the Hawaii Farmers Union United and the secretary of the state division of the Hawaii Farmers Union. And we're here today again to testify in support of Bill 113. Much has been said about the science relating to GMO. I don't believe that the science is clear, but the Hawaii Farmers Union takes no position on that. Instead, we want to focus on something that is clear, and that is the economic consequences of growing GMO foods or crops on other crops. This is not just a matter of the question between GMO crops and organic crops, but GMO crops and all other crops. And the fact is that GMO cross-pollination, as even the opponents of the bill have noted, is an issue. They point out now that all crops have a potential to cross-pollinate. But that either misses or obfuscates the point. The point is that only GMO crops, when they cross-pollinate, can affect the economics of another crop. Most of the world, in fact, the European Union, Japan, Korea, to name a few, prohibit the importation of GMO or GM crops. And that includes crops that have been contaminated with GMO. So that is the issue for us. Do you preserve the option until you know the consequences of being able to market every other crop other than GMO crops that are grown in Hawaii? It is not a question of prohibiting these crops, but of being able to hold the place we're in now to be able to study the situation further. Bill 113 strikes the right balance that protects the right of Hawaii County's hundreds of small-scale farmers to make a living free from serious economic risks. In 2008, Hawaii County passed an outright ban on GMO cropping of taro and coffee that is still the law, and this bill does not alter that. As with coffee and taro, Hawaii County would be best served to act now to protect the economics of all of its local crops. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Kelly Greenwell, and firstly, I'd like to express my gratitude for the effort this council has expended on understanding the implications involved in regulating the inclusion of genetic modified organisms in our agriculture. And specifically, I'd like to thank Ms. Willie for bringing this issue to light. With all due respect for both sides of this GMO issue, however, I think it boils down to whether Hawaii is seriously willing to participate in developing the science of maintaining a sustainable food supply for the future. There is no question that both sides have exhibited legitimate and, might I say, warranted concern. However, in the final analysis, the real question is, do we participate in the evolving science of agriculture, or do we legislate against it? Yes, it would be nice to preserve the purity of the natural, but the reality is that the natural is long past, and we are beyond bringing it back. I oppose this bill because it delivers the message that our focus is entirely upon ourselves, and as such, contrary to our native culture, which characteristically displays outreach. Passage is also short-sighted in that global conditions will eventually impact us, as well as unfortunate in that proactive participation in the study of tropical agriculture is our most obvious and best-suited mission.
Summarize.
Following the path of isolationism displaces us from an opportunity to participate in the future well-being of our planet, leaving us without a role in the development of world farming. Let's take up the challenge of being a contributing player, understanding that if world agriculture fails, it will first occur in the tropics, and most probably because we chose not to get involved. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you. Waimea?
I'd like to introduce Landry Fuller, who represents herself, and Anna Peach, who represents Squash and Awe.
Aloha, council members. My name is Landry Fuller, and I am a health teacher at one of the elementary schools here in Waimea. I am here today in favor of passing Bill 113 on behalf of my students and all of the children on the Big Island. At school several weeks ago, more than 100 of my 4th and 5th grade students told me that they don't want to eat genetically modified foods. So they created 6 posters that we actually displayed outside the Civic Center at our hearing last month in Kona, asking you to ban GMOs on our island. The children are our future, and if we don't handle this problem with GMOs and their pesticides now, it will be a nightmare that we will pass along to them. I've heard the argument that we're going to be saving money now using GMOs, but think about the cost that you're going to have later in life, much higher costs for the medical bills after those GMOs have affected your bodies. My training is as an integrative nutrition counselor, and I have seen how this happens. So please pass Bill 113 so we can also serve as an example for other states and the rest of the world. All of you are aware that more than 60 countries outside the U.S. currently ban or limit GMOs. So why aren't we? I trust that you, council people, and Mayor Billy Kanoe care about our health and will make the right decision passing Bill 113. Mahalo.
Thank you. Next testifier.
Hello, my name is Anna Peach, and for our council members, I'm the farmer that goes along with this heirloom squash flyer that's before you. I'm a squash grower here in Waimea, and I specialize in heirlooms. When I tell a room full of farmers that, I get a lot of raised eyebrows because that is one tough crop to grow commercially. Squash, that is, not heirlooms. And that's exactly why I'm growing it. Most Hawaii squash growers stopped growing 5 to 10 years ago due to so many pests and disease. I've been told time and time again that you can't do it without GMO squash. That's our only hope. I started 7 months ago, and I've been pulling nearly 2 tons from a 1/4 acre, and I barely use any water. I've been building soil. I also have bees in abundance. I don't spray anything, either organic or inorganic. The soil building costs me nothing, but a lot of shoveling. So we can do this, and we can reclaim this huge commercial market from Mexico. If I can do this as one person, we all can. I decided to look for a solution that would help us all, not just me. I didn't look to a laboratory for answers, but I looked to my own ancestors who have been farming in the U.S. for 167 years, and they farmed for long before that as well. I also looked to your history for an answer. It took me 5 minutes on the internet to find pure seed strains that date back centuries. To anyone in this room of Japanese descent, this is the food of your ancestors. This is the exact kabocha that your family ate in 1620. To me, that is beautiful. But unfortunately for all of us, we know squash cross-pollinates and that GMO squash are readily available. That means they would forever change the lineage of your ancestors' kabocha forever. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you. Sorry. Pahoa, your next 2 testifiers, please.
First, we have Mr. Kurt Romer representing himself. Following him will be Ms. Joyce Polena, also representing herself, both in support of Bill 113.
Thank you.
Hi. My name's Kirk Raymer, and I would like to support Bill 113. I feel the bill's maybe not quite strong enough in its penalties, but I'm a compromising person, so perhaps compromise is needed there. One of the first things I'd like to touch on is GMO's resistance to pesticides, herbicides, and disease resistance may be part of the large cause of the bees colony collapse. Richard Haw wrote in the newspaper saying that basically GMOs, they could control the pollen of the GMOs. The only way you can control pollen is if there were no bees and no breeze. So I don't think he's capable of accomplishing either of those things. I'm curious about the Hawaii Ag Department. We have the highest food costs in the country, so I don't see the benefit so far of 20 plus years of GMOs in Hawaii. And the UH gentleman who claimed to be just representing himself, working for UH, I'm curious if he's in the pocket of Monsanto, just to make it blunt. I think a big part of their question is whether these things are safe, and we just don't know. So the argument of let's go ahead with it and find out later if they're safe or not just doesn't fly with me. And so I say let's play it safe. Let's pass this bill. Amendments could always be made to it if it turned out that it was too stringent. I presume amendments could be made if it was found out that it's not strong enough. So that's all I've got. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, my name is Joyce Alberta Felina. I'm a resident of Puna. I'm in almost 30 years to the day resident of Puna. I love Puna. I love this island. The people here are very kind, and the ecology is very fragile and very sensitive. You're talking about doing something to this island that it's irreversible. I don't believe the FDA. I don't believe the EPA. I've educated myself with Jeffrey Smith's book, Genetic Roulette, and Jeffrey Smith's book, Seeds of Deception. And I can't believe that this gentleman, Mr. Smith, would write 2 rather large volumes unless he were absolutely sure of his information. He obviously isn't being paid off by anybody. At least he isn't being. I have 2 minutes. I don't know if I can cram this in 2 minutes, but I want you to hear something. And I urge every one of you to read this book. I also urge you to go to a website. The website is www.nongmoproject.org to find the information that you need to exclude GMO products from your diet. You know, the things that can crop up as a result of eating GMOs are endless. The diseases, the discomforts, the deaths. I refuse to be a guinea pig for industry. Pass this bill 113, draft 3. I feel this bill isn't strong enough, but I feel it's a bill that can pass. The FDA and the EPA are infiltrated by members of the biotech industry. The scientific studies that have been conducted in relation to GMO products are flawed. The iffy science of taking a .22 caliber GM gun and exploding it into a genome and getting iffy results are not acceptable to me and what I eat. Thank you.
Thank you. Here in Hilo, Jason Moniz.
My name is Jason Moniz. I'm president of the Hamakua Farm Bureau. Our membership includes farmers and ranchers, conventional, organic, and those utilizing biotech. The District of Hamakua, by value, produces 2% of the county's crops and accounts for 20% of the county's livestock and livestock products. Hamakua Farm Bureau strongly opposes Bill 113 Draft 3 as it continues to discriminate against and will hurt our local farmers and ranchers. Hamakua Farm Bureau supports all types of farming and ranching, natural, organic, conventional, and those using biotech, including the use of deregulated GMO crops. And in contrast to others you have heard from, we do not endorse one over the other. Hamakua Farm Bureau supports the University of Hawaii and PBARC developing genetic engineered solutions, including open-air testing to prevent diseases important to Hawaii agriculture. Bill 113 version 3 continues to fail to support its findings and purpose. After more than 2 decades of GMO crop production in Hawaii, there have been no significant cross-pollination issues, and more importantly, no uncontrolled spread of
there are differences in GMO. Also that you have where you're doing a hybrid of plants. Okay, that's not the same as GMO. This is a non-naturally occurring situation where you're inserting genes in. What I do not see in this bill is a complete ban on pork or pigs genes into food sources. So that interferes with the United States constitutional rights. Also, it interferes with OSHA right to know. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay. And back in Kona, I'd like to note for the record, I see Councilmember Kanuha has been joining us from Kona. And I'd like you to introduce your next two testifiers, please.
Next two testifiers, Shannon Rudolph in support of Bill 113. Also, we have Gordana Leonard in support of Bill 113.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Aloha, Council. I love our farmers and ranchers. I'm not their enemy. I know that there are many other non-GMO feeds that they can grow. As for other farmers, I went to Costco the other day and saw organic sugar from cane that people were pulling off the shelf like crazy. I saw $20 cases of coconut water from Thailand. I'm not the enemy of farmers and ranchers on the Big Island, but mahalo and God bless the council for having the foresight to pass this bill today. I wish it was much stronger. GMO and pesticides are inseparable. They are from the same companies. Chemical exposure has passed through the generations. I watched a documentary this weekend from New Zealand farming communities. After 20 years, many of the people are sick. Stillbirths, miscarriages, birth defects, cancer. The same thing is happening in Argentina. The same thing is happening on Kauai and probably Molokai and soon to be Maui and Oahu. Hawaii is being poisoned by the chemical corporations, and we are just collateral damage to their bottom line. The buck stops on Hawaii Island. New Zealand, Argentina, Hawaii, and other places all show a similar pattern of legal corruption, lobbyists, misinformation, illness, subterfuge, denial, and suffering allowed by officials who are supposed to protect us. I blame all of our officials, our state officials especially, our legislators, for allowing this coup to happen and for allowing Hawaii to be poisoned. But that's going to change. Mahalo for passing this bill, Council. I'm very proud of you today for your vision and for doing the right thing. Mahalo.
Thank you.
Aloha. My name is Gordana Leonard. I have lived in Kona since 1999, but my family has been here for about 20 years. On a personal note, ever since reading 2 books in 1971, I became aware that food could be, in fact should be, our medicine. Now in my mid-70s, I can pretty much attest to that. Having said that, I emphasize that I am willing to and will go to all ends to avoid GMO foods. The milk and milk products I buy come from Wisconsin or elsewhere on the mainland. My corn is never from Waimea. To the best of my knowledge, except for GMO papaya and so far relatively limited GMO corn cultivation, Hawaii Island has to date remained GMO-free. This council has by now heard impassioned and rational reasons to allow or to disallow growing and or experimenting GMOs in our county. Considering that this is globally still a very contentious issue, I invite the council to vote in favor of Bill 113. We only have one cut at this. Please allow our island to remain, as much as is still possible, free of irreversible genetic changes potentially harmful to human health and or the environment, until, should it ever, the global community embraces GMOs. Thank you for hearing my testimony.
Excuse me, Kona, please, we're not allowing any applause today, so.
Does someone have their mic on?
And be sure you turn your microphones off after your speaker is finished. Thank you. I'm going to go to Waimea.
Good afternoon. I'd like to introduce Terry Markovich, who represents herself in support of Bill 113, and Janelle Williams, who represents her Ohana in support of Bill 113.
Mahalo, honorable county council persons, and I want to say mahalo for and commend you for having the courage to bring this bill before us. My good portion of my community, we work to encourage more local organic food production and education in that field. And I'm testifying today in support of Bill 113, banning further GMO engineered crops, and encourage all residents to work on improving the health of the environment of this island of Hawaii for all inhabitants, and healthy and keep Hawaii a healthy destination for visitors. The small country of Bhutan, they have committed to be a country of organic farming, and that's the country of Shangri-La, known as the home place of Shangri-La. And so please keep Hawaii, keep our Hawaii a paradise. Mahalo.
Aloha, my name is Janelle Williams, and I am here to represent myself and my family. Mahalo to the County Council, and especially to Willie Rice for bringing this issue to us. It's a very heated issue, and it's causing a lot of people to get fired up, which is good. It is good. I'm a mother, and I personally choose to avoid GMOs when possible. I am here in favor of Bill 113, as I said, and I especially am choosing to avoid GMOs now after having my daughter. Her health and safety has become my top priority, and so I've started a small herb garden as well. I see this bill as an opportunity to become more healthy and secure in my modest gardening, knowing I won't have to worry about cross-pollination from genetically engineered organisms if this bill passed. Unfortunately, our food system is flooded with genetically engineered foods, and it is not always easy to avoid them because they are not always labeled. And though there's companies that say they're organic or they're natural, that doesn't mean that they're non-GMO free. I have a right to know what I'm eating, and that when I buy seeds to start a garden, that they aren't injected with genes from a virus, a foreign species, or an insecticide. While a student at the university, I was immersed in the GMO issue, and I have seen the potential benefits, the arguments that they could feed the world. But as we have had GMOs for more than 20 years, we are not any closer to feeding the world. But we do have increased cancer rates, diseases, lower fertility rates, and accumulation of chemicals in our bodies. I urge you to pass this bill and to continue looking at the risks posed by genetically modified organisms, from foods to animals that we ingest and accumulate in our bodies. I want the right to choose, and open air testing of GMO crops limits my ability to choose. Labeling is another issue I hope the Council will begin to look at as well, because it is our right to know. GMOs are not alike, but they are too much of a risk when very little testing has been done. Thank you for hearing this, and I hope you support Bill 113. Mahalo.
Thank you. Is there one more in Waimea, or was that both of?
We actually have 3 more.
Okay. I'll come back to you then. I'm going to go to
Thank you.
Good afternoon, Chair. Our next testifier is David Cottis, representing Mother Nature, Ka'aina, and future generations, speaking in support of Bill 113.
Aloha. I must say we have quite a disparity of so-called facts today from people that are supposed to be scientists. That's noteworthy. But apparently they've done very little research into the immense harm that has been done by GMO. For example, the thousands of farmers who committed suicide in India due to the total chaos from being forced to use GMO. In my opinion, GMO crops are man-made viruses that spread from property to property, infecting one farm after another. Like coqui frogs, there's no stopping them once you allow them in here. For example, birds eat GMO papaya seeds, then fly a few miles away where they excrete what they ate, namely GMO papaya seeds, well fertilized in bird poop. So if you council members allow GMO onto this island, you'll go down in our history books as extremely short-sighted, expletive deleted. While I have your attention, let me make a prediction. The biotech corporations will invade our island with man-made diseases which attack our bananas, mangoes, and other fruit trees. Then they will tell us that the only solution for those diseases, which they, the corporations themselves, secretly created, is to purchase their GMO crops and chemical sprays and poisons. Prediction number 2, it's going to happen to the humans to max out the profits of Big Pharma, Big Bio, and Big Brother.
Our next testifier is Karen Martinez, representing herself, speaking in support of Bill 113, Draft 3.
Thank you. Good afternoon, council members, and everyone else who's watching.
Good afternoon.
This is my first time watching this, and I've been interested to see that everybody who is for GMO talks in terms of economics. Everybody else is talking about the welfare of our brothers and sisters on this planet. All I can see is it's really all about power and money. Nobody really on the other side is caring about our well-being, but it's money that all the power and the money that Monsanto has and is sharing with everyone to support them. We're talking 2 different things. And we've got to vote and we've got to take care of ourselves. Monsanto has no conscience, much like a sociopath, no conscience whatsoever. And we have to recognize that. We have to own it. And we have people voting. And the historical factor is very important. You let GMO on this island, generations from now, we're going to vilify the names of the people that brought it to us. Not just Monsanto, but everybody who sold out and voted for this to come to this island. You're going to be in infamy. We had a day of infamy 70 years ago. Is this our next one? It's really worth considering what we value. We value life. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. In Pahoa, your next 2 testifiers, please.
First, we have Mr. Gregory Todd Smith, representing himself. Following him will be Mr. Greg Owen, also representing himself, both in support of Bill 113.
Good afternoon, Council, and aloha.
Aloha.
We're talking about pseudoscience here. Well, Monsanto has been, more public relations than science for the past 70 years. Nonetheless, we talk about the negative effects of GMO on our industries. Honey production in this county and in the state has gone up over the past, 15 years. whereas milk production has gone down. And these are statistics from the National Agricultural Statistics Service, USDA. Is that authoritative enough for Mr. Iligan? Okay, the point of the matter is that one stupid dairy farmer on Hamakua could absolutely kill our burgeoning honey production here on the Big Island. Because, unfortunately, corn pollen spreads all over the world. In fact, scientists from our very own atmospheric laboratory, observation station here on Mauna Loa, that's NOAA, did core samples in the ice of both poles, and they found, guess what? Corn pollen. Okay. What happens is that bees have been negatively affected by ingesting Bt pollen from these genetically organisms, which is what is 300 acres is being now grown on the Hamakua side. And I just recently purchased 5 gallons of honey from a honey house on Hamakua, and now I have to seriously consider not picking up another 5 gallons next year, because guess what? That honey could be contaminated with Bt toxin, which causes disease. Mahalo.
Next, please.
Greg Owen. Good afternoon from Mokuopuna. My remarks are mostly on GMO papayas. I would like to ask my friends and neighbors in the GMO papaya industry to consider that they are spraying poisons right next to families on rain catchment systems. It seems to me more spray is being used in the GMO papayas, but who is keeping track? Where are the records? Hawaii uses 10 times more pesticides than the national average per acre and 3 times more than California, the next highest, according to a front page article in the Hawaii Tribune Herald 25 years ago. Remember, in the 1970s, Maui land and pineapple killed 3 of their neighbors who had contracted leukemia after Maui land sprayed lindane and heptachlor on their pineapple field. From the road junction by Ormat Geothermal to Kupoho Crater Green Mountain is Pesticide Alley. Constant heavy spraying, especially in rainy times, happens ever since I've lived in this area for 36 years. I Googled pesticides used by GMO papaya industry, and malathion comes out on top. This is a mild version of sarin gas, an organophosphate, and a deadly nerve agent. Ag poisons do not just go away, they leave a toxic legacy. Every spraying also occurs a fungicide because of papaya fungus. Fungicides are killing all the bees which pollinate the fruit trees. On my organic farm of avocado, breadfruit, and citrus, which I grow all without using pesticides, Hawaii needs a sea change in our agricultural policies. We need 10,000 organic small family farms, not GMO, monocrop, corporate chemical madness.
Thank you. Okay. Back here in Hilo.